Last week we had a look at Cooler Master's MasterFan SF120M, a brutal multi-purpose fan being built for both your PC and knocking people unconscious. It had cool little features and was overall pretty well received, but there was one thing missing: RGB. So Cooler Master performed some pretty nasty Egyptian rituals which led to the creation of this, the Cooler Master MasterFan SF120M ARGB. So this is the behemoth we are going to talk about today, the SF120M ARGB. Just like its original non-RGB predecessor, it comes in a clean yet pretentious looking packaging with a sneak peek window suggesting that shit is about to get serious again. And we will see about that. Surprisingly, except for the exact same model number and 100% similar stats on paper, these two fans have not that much in common, or pretty much nothing. Sure, the SF120M ARGB is still built pretty robust and could probably kill your bunny if you just, put your body momentum in it, but from a raw sturdiness point, it's just not as good. That being said, it is still at the very top when it comes to build quality. The last thing these two fans have definitely in common is that fan speed control mode thing. This time Cooler Master put the speed dial on the back side of the fan, and the crippling that this thing is able to do is exactly the same as before. With the fan spinning at 2000 RPM with 62 CFM at 2.4mm of H2O in its H extreme performance mode, that dial will slow down to 1600 RPM in mostly crippled mode or 1200 RPM in largely crippled mode. But as I said in the last video, being a PWM controlled fan, I do not see a reason why this is particularly useful. I see it like this: if you want to drive 50 an hour, I could put in the third gear and drive like a normal freaking human being, or I could leave in the first one and use the ref limiter. Good luck with that. From here on, it's mostly positive. Inside the packaging we'll find almost the same things as we did before. A manual and two sets of mounting hardware, the usual fan screws and those rubber knobs which are making installing the fan an ease and may let them fall out. For pretty standard reasons, Cooler Master does not include any zip ties this time anymore, but I'm surely not really sad about that because they include one of these RGB header clips, which we have already seen on the cycle flow fans, and these are so freaking useful. No tape, reusable, super convenient. And the inclusion is a very good thing, because on this fan we will no longer find that unnecessary proprietary port forcing us to skip a heartbeat each time we unplug it because it's so freaking janky. This time Cooler Master uses the industry standard with a PWM and a 3-pin ARGB cable being pre-attached to the fan. Conveniently for us, there is an ARGB splitter attached to each of the fans, so hooking up all of the fans to a single ARGB connector is an ease, including this splitter and the RGB clip. But there is also a small drawback compared to the previously necessary 1-to-3 PWM splitter. It was possible to hook 3 SF120M non-RGB fans to a single PWM header. Now, however, you end up with 3 SF120M ARGB fans, each with its separate PWM header and without any PWM splitter included in the packaging. That's very unfortunate, and I absolutely believe that it would have made the fan so much better if they included a PWM splitter to each PWM header, or a PWM splitter 1-to-3 in the packaging. But a splitter on the cable would be perfect. Hopefully we will see that in the future version. Now let's finally get to the most important part: RGB. I know RGB and the look that comes along is a subjective thing, but I specifically requested these because I believe that this, and this would look so cool, and I'm not disappointed at all. These look freaking awesome. With milky wings with a ring around to help to guide the airflow, and with milky-like accents on each corner, these fans light up in such a great way. Just like the original fans, these have each of their corners made entirely out of rubber, which can be removed using 2 screws. And Cooler Master used that way of building them to put a thin layer of milky plastic in there with 3 LEDs behind it to make these fans stand out in a way that I have not seen before. Amazing! But there's more. Once you plug in the PWM cable and let the fan spin, the electricity provided is also used to light up a couple of white LEDs in the central area, illuminating the transparent Cooler Master logo in white, which looks amazing. And no, you cannot control these colors on the central LEDs. They are white. But believe me, it's better. Just white looks good. But there's more. If you haven't noticed, even though the fans are spinning, the logo is not. That's because Cooler Master put in some sort of shaft through the fan's motor, which is not spinning, and attached the logo piece with a magnet to it. Meaning that although everything is spinning, the central piece of plastic is just floating above the fan, which again looks freaking awesome. And of course you can adjust the central piece by just rotating it. A small thing I also wanted to note, just like the original fans, these have the same type of weirdly looking engravings on their wings, and although I thought this looks pretty cool on the original fans, on these white light wings it's nearly impossible to see them. They are there, but you won't notice them. Okay, I guess that should be it about the features. Now I would say it's time to double check if putting RGB into your fan did any harm to their performance. Based on the spec sheets, the SF120M and SF120M ARGB are similar, same amount of airflow, same air pressure, same speed. And before anybody thinks that this is some sort of testing error, upon seeing these differences, I repeated my benchmark 3 times for each of the fans, but no, the results are correct. Letting the SF120M ARGB spin at 100% fan speed made the 3700X jump to 52 degrees C, a full 5 degrees above their non-RGB counterpart. This is a devastating result. They should have been performing similarly. I checked everything I possibly could think of, and the only difference I was able to find was that the non-RGB version uses dual ball bearings while the RGB version uses single ball bearing, but that wouldn't create such a difference. Looking at the noise normalized results, it really doesn't get any better. The SF120M ARGB is significantly behind the original one in every regard. Forcing the ARGB version to push harder for the same results makes it significantly louder than the original one. Don't get me wrong, on a global scale of every fan we've reviewed so far, the SF120M ARGB is still pretty good. It can perform as well as an Arctic P12 while being way better in noise to performance ratio. But this is supposed to be the RGB equivalent of an SF120M. So it's normal that I compare it to one. And no matter how I look at it, the SF120M ARGB is utterly beaten by the original non-RGB version. And I just don't get why. The numbers are equal, the performance is just not. And that's really sad because it kinda legitimizes the argument that RGB comes at a performance cost. So in the end, what is good, what is bad? On the good side, we still have an outstandingly good build quality. The included goodies are more than enough, especially the RGB header clip. And the best aspect for me is still the design. These look awesome, those lines on each corner that follow the wings bend are looking awesome, and I love that it is one of the few fans out there that looks good from the front and from the back. But there are also a couple of bad things. The first mini thing is the PVM split on the fan. That would have been awesome. But the real issue is performance. Sure, the fan is still very much okay, but it doesn't break any records, something that the original non-RGB fan actually did, which is just sad. On the price side, I think it's a bit hard. The MSRP of these is set to be €34.99 in euros, which is more than a Nokia NF812, so you are paying a lot for that RGB. So to buy or not to buy? If you are looking for the best performing RGB fan, I think we established that this just ain't it. That being said, the performance is still okay. They are not as good as their non-RGB counterparts, not even close, but they are pretty much comparable to an Arctic P12, which is still very good. It just doesn't fulfill the expectations that the SF120M set. But in exchange, you will get an extremely unique design going. So what I'm trying to say is, they are not bad, really not, and you will get good air exchange inside your case. It is just not as good as other fans. But if the design is what you are going for, then there is absolutely nothing wrong going with these fans. Okay, so this was my take on the Cooler Master SF120M ARGB. At this point I would like to thank Cooler Master for sending me these beautiful yet not as well performing fans. And if you haven't watched the review of the original SF120M fans, make sure to check it out. Anyway, thank you for watching and hope to see you on the next one. Bye bye.